Rob is a stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder. Oh, and Jay's a Wookiee.
Wow, that glass of yours has gotten really full.
And really empty.
He is drinking out of a full-size, I don't mean a normal peanut butter-sized mason jar. I'm talking stewed tomato-sized mason jar.
1 liter.
Yes. Yes, we're on.
Okay, just checking.
We're recording.
I am so good at my job, ladies and gentlemen. You should see me in the real world.
No, not so much.
All right, I did want to say this about Arrow.
Back to Arrow.
Yes, back to Arrow. In season 1, there wasn't a person in that entire, other than the cop, who had to be an idiot not to believe that Mr. Oliver Queen was not Arrow.
That's a common problem in the comic book stories, really.
But that dude revealed himself to everybody. Like, hey.
They even pick on him about it in the second season. Like, anybody else in the team now?
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, if you're a superhero and you need my help, or we just have to be friends and there's a life and death situation, don't ever reveal yourself to me. That's a death sentence. And either I'm going to kill you because I'm going to die in a horrible accident anyway, so we both might as well die, or at least at the bare minimum, I'm punching you in the face. I don't care what it is. You reveal yourself to anybody, that person's dead. You know, unless you're part of the inner circle team, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just like a friend and we're just hanging out and for some reason I need a blood transfusion or my dad needs a blood transfusion, hey, just say, hey, dude, you don't want to know who I am. And I'll be like, you know, you're probably right. Just remind me that if I show you who I am, you're going to die in a horrible, horrible accident.
You know, it's funny. Wait till you see the episode with Barry Allen. You're going to fucking be like, shenanigans. You're going to scream at the screen because I knew that Barry knew who Ollie was from the episode of The Flash. I was like, okay, well, they've established that they know each other. And I hadn't seen that episode yet. So when Barry finally showed up on Arrow in the Netflix that I was watching, I was really, okay, cool, let's see how this works out. Because I figured Barry, being a crime scene investigator, would deduce somehow that Ollie was the Arrow.
They make fun of it in The Flash or they allude to it. I didn't see last week's.
At least in The Flash, they got it out of the way right away.
Yeah, I didn't see
the cop, like, I'm the Flash, by the way. You know, they did that right away.
I didn't see last week's Flash because I was feeling very ill. And
the Rogues Gallery one, yeah.
Yeah, and I do need to watch it.
Okay, good.
I'll probably watch it before this week's Flash. But seriously, dude, I'm telling you, if anybody that I know is listening, and all, 4 of you, if any 4 of you people
Your secret
are a
is safe.
superhero, don't. I'll help you out. Like, hey, if you come to my house and, I don't know, a hood and some crazy-ass mask, I don't give a shit, and say, hey, dude, can you back me up on rescuing this little girl? I'll be like, yeah, just don't tell me who you are.
Yeah. Ever. I don't want to know.
Yeah, like, I don't care what the circumstance. If it's my life that's on the line, no. Just let me die now instead of having to worry and anticipate it. Like, when am I going to die? It's like, well, it's worse than it's worse than having like 1,000 that show 1,000 ways to die, because now I have to worry about every other thing that's going on. Like there's an earthquake. Fuck.
Yeah. And geographically, we do live in one of the safest areas in the country, and yet we're getting earthquakes once in a while, and tornadoes once in a while too.
Yeah. So. Do me that favor, just say, hey man, trust me, and I'm cool enough to be like,
yeah, all right. Ignorance is bliss. I don't need to know the answer.
I'm good. So that's just, I just wanted to say that's how I feel about that. If anybody wants to become a vigilante, a hero, an anti-hero, whatever, you feel the need to hide your identity, fine. Just be honest about what you want to do, and we're cool. Yeah.
Oh, the other thing that came up at Oricon today was the fact that you've never watched or read Watchmen.
No, I watched the movie.
You did watch the movie.
I watched the movie.
But you said you didn't watch the whole thing, or did you?
Man, who really
Well, to be honest, the movie
it
really
was like 5 hours long.
For God's sakes, every time he tells this, it gets longer. First it was 2.5, then it was 3, now it's 5. I have it. It's not that long.
It seems like it's 9 hours long.
Oh, for God's sakes. It just jumped in the same breath. Okay. But anyway, the book, although the book ends quite differently than the movie does, the book is better, I think.
Okay. Not reading the book.
please.
No,
Okay.
You know, I'll read the Green Arrow stuff. I'll read the Death to Superman stuff. None of
to be honest, Watchmen technically has nothing to do with anything else.
No,
That's true.
And
it's a standalone thing.
It's a standalone thing.
Yeah.
They're not superheroes. They're just guys with like some, except for maybe.
Well, they're superheroes. It's just that
they're heroes that can age. Well, whatever.
Okay.
The point is, none of those characters interested me. Like none of them.
Technically, they're not relevant.
Not even
in the timeline.
Not
no.
even the Rorschach, which they really try to like make him like maybe like the Wolverine of X-Men. Like,
I'm not in here with you.
Yeah.
You're in here with me.
Yeah, type thing.
Which I like that.
None of those characters just didn't relate to any of them. I don't know. They just didn't interest me. I was like, all right, you guys are just
as a brief as an aside, because it ties into what we're talking about with Arrow. We wouldn't be talking about Arrow, at least not Arrow as the character he is now, if not for the fact that Watchmen is set up of a bunch of made-up characters. Because when DC bought, I think it was Carlton Comics, that's where Blue Beetle, where Green Arrow, where a couple other ones came from.
right.
And Moore originally wanted to use those characters in Watchmen. But because of the nature of his story, that it was so, he destroyed a few, he killed a few, he just really fucked up. They knew that once those characters were used in Watchmen, they could never use them again.
Right.
So they're like, well, you can write the book, but you have to make up your own characters. So each character is totally an amalgamation of, like, Owlman or whatever he is. That's totally Batman, It's
Right.
just obvious what it is. So that's why those characters are outside the timeline, why they don't
Right.
fall into the rest of the DC universe, and why we're still talking about Arrow now.
They're the serious adaptation of the Tick. Is that what you're telling me?
In a way.
Yeah.
In a way. The Tick is allegory. The Tick is allegory, and
you got
it's
Batman
satire.
or Batman Well. I mean,
Batman Well.
Batman Well.
Oh, what's that actor's name? I love him. He was actually my favorite part of Lost. I loved him.
Really?
Oh, my God. And Suddenly Susan, even when he was in that. I loved him in that.
He's been in all sorts of stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Batman.
God, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Batman Well.
Batman
He
Well.
was so awesome in
that. Yes.
So was that your question that you had? Is that...
that was a question, and I wanted to get to it, so I could just cross that page off.
All right, do me a favor. I want you to pull up Star Wars Episode 7, the title. Just go to Google and type Star Wars Episode 7, the title. I have my thoughts on this.
Star Wars
Episode 7, title.
Title. All right.
I think it's The Force Awakens.
Hang on. How are they doing a Star Wars... Oh, wait,
Episode 7.
I was thinking
yeah.
Star Trek. I'm sorry.
God damn. That is the third time you screwed up Star Wars and Star Trek. You're going to have to resign your geek card, all right?
I haven't
I'm
gone
about to
through
tear up your
initiation
geek
yet.
card.
So Star Wars, The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens. Now, I saw this on Twitter. All right, what are you laughing at now?
So you had me like look up the title. So I was looking at rejected titles by, obviously some of this is pretty funny. Like Star Wars, Too Old for This Sith. Or here's so far is my favorite one by Chris Brenneman at Chris Brenneman. Whatever. I don't know anything about Twitter, so whatever. Star Wars 7, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Death Star.
What?
How I Learned to Stop
heard you.
Worrying and Love the Death Star.
Well, read the one that you say is actually the title. What is it again?
Crap, these are way too
The
good.
Force Awakens.
Star Wars 7, One Flew Over the Wookiee's Nest.
It's actually better than The Force
I know what you
Awakens.
did last, Parsec. I don't even know what that means.
That is funny. Actually, a parsec is a distance measure,
Okay.
or a time measure rather, not a distance measure. That's the argument.
Right.
Last parsec.
The Force Awakens.
That, I might get crucified. That's the dumbest fucking title I've heard since Phantom Menace. J.J. Abrams, from what I hear, is really trying to do a really good job bringing back Star Wars, and God bless him. But I pray that title's a joke.
No, that's the real title.
Okay.
All right.
Now, that was my initial reaction when I first heard it. Now, what I will say, though, is after I first read that, I went back and I looked at the other titles. And frankly, they're just as lame, if you think about it.
Really?
I mean,
come on, dude. This title would be... You're right. This title right here would be awesome. Star Wars Episode 7. Dude, where's my Millennium Falcon? That's... All right.
Where'd you park the Millennium Falcon, dude? I don't know, dude.
Which kind of makes sense. I mean, if you go back to Empire Strikes Back, he did lose the Millennium Falcon for a few moments.
Well, and somebody else drove it in the third one in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, so see, all right.
Which is directly correlated to the end of the second Death Star.
That name has relevance.
It does have relevance.
Some way.
But then I look back at Phantom Menace, Rise of the Sith, A New Hope. Those are kind of cheesy, and they're meant to be. They're meant to be those serial titles,
right,
you know.
So answer me this: was A New Hope, which is the fourth
episode 4,
which was the first one,
right?
Was that an official title before the other 3 came out in the 90s or whatever?
Yes, it was. It was always episode 4, A New Hope. It started, I remember, because people debated about it for years, like, why is this episode 4? First off, he already had a backstory in his head, which is what they were talking about at the panel today. That gal was talking about, I've already got a whole story in my head from what's going on the page that you don't know about, which makes perfect sense. A lot of writers and a lot of screenplay writers do that. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the method actors. You know, what's my motivation? What's my history and my character? Same kind of thing.
Shia LaBeouf. I don't know. I'm just saying that.
About Shia LaBeouf, other than he's lost his mind.
Just later.
Okay. Later. He's looking online now, just randomly looking for shit to talk about.
I'm still. No, I don't need to look online to have that rant for Shia
LaBeouf.
Later.
Anywho, what were we talking about?
How bad? I mean, did he just ruin? Not just him being there probably ruined it, but fucking Shia. And just, you know what? I'm not even getting into Indiana Jones and Shia LaBeouf. Let's just which that fucking skull.
To be honest, I was okay with Harrison and with
I get that
Karen Allen.
I get that you have to portray, you know, Harrison in Indiana
and the fact that they brought Karen Allen back, I thought was really cute. Their whole relationship was wonderful.
I get the fact. Hey, is it a romance story or is it an adventure story?
That's a good example, because if you took out Karen Allen, that movie would not work.
Right.
So it's a romance story.
Well, I mean, does that make the whole saga a romance story? Because it starts with them and it ends with them.
You can make that argument, yeah.
Oh, Jesus, I don't want to. I want that lady here to make that argument.
If you take the first 3 though on their own, no, those are adventure stories.
He's a whoremonger, a man whore.
Of course, he was a man whore. He's a James Bond with a whip and a revolver. I mean, that's
all right. Anyway, we'll get back to that.
Anyway, The Force Awakens. I saw this title and immediately my heart sank. Now, first off, I'm having a hard enough time reconciling episode 7 because remember I pointed out today that guy by the name of Timothy Zahn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, maybe?
Well, we were talking about those books. The fake military guys were like, what is this? And it's based on, I forget his name now. But that first book I saw was co-written by Timothy Zahn. Now, Timothy Zahn, frankly, Timothy Zahn is the reason why, as far as I'm concerned, Star Wars is a viable property. He was given the licensing to actually write a series of novels in the early 90s that revived the Star Wars franchise, the Heir to the Empire series, which then was continued on by Kevin Anderson. Todd McCaffrey mentioned Kevin Anderson. That's why I was like, Star Wars. I poked at you and I said, he's a Star Wars writer, among other things. Kevin J. Anderson. He wrote the Jedi Academy trilogy and a few other ones. They continued the Star Wars story. Now, Star Wars has a huge history from Jedi all the way to now. Like, these books have been coming out for years. Right. In fact, they're up to the point now where Luke has been married. His wife has died. He has a son named Ben, who's a teenager. Han and Leia, their oldest son, grew up to be a Sith Lord. Their youngest son was killed. Chewbacca's dead. He was killed. They crushed a moon on him, for God's sakes.
That goes to how we talked about in Comic Book Girl 19. You know, and this is one of the things we discussed, and she discusses this a little bit better, is that, you know, Game of Thrones, where you have the books, and then now you have the TV show. Well, if the next book doesn't come out before the TV show catches up to it, and which would be with the next 2 seasons.
They're running out of material.
Two seasons. If one goes one direction and one goes the other direction, to me that's fine. You know,
and I agree.
You know, those writers will probably say, "Hey, George R. R. Martin, what do you think of this?" Or they may not, and go their own direction. And that's kind of what you're talking about. Is like people like my wife. Never going to read the books, or your wife, or or the average. I
probably won't either.
Or average 90%. They're just going to follow the storyline of the movies if they even remember what happened in the last one. So that's fine. Like, you can forget about the books and things like that, because if the books followed the A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and
Return of the Jedi,
and then went from their own storyline and went north in the movies, kind of parallel to that, even through the sixth one. But the seventh one, they want to go. I guess I don't know if it would work for one single movie though. It's kind of weird. Like the Game of Thrones, you could do it because one, the books are so huge, and there's only going to be 6, maybe 7 of them, because it takes him like 10 years to write one, which is fine.
He's the Tolkien of our era. Yeah.
And that's not even the series that's killing me.
Oh, he has another one.
Waiting on. No, it's actually the series that those books are based on. They only translated the first 3 books. Translated because it was written by a French guy back in like the 1940s.
Oh.
They only translated the first 6 books in English, and now they're, because of George R.R. Martin, the Iron King series. They only translated the first 3 books in English until after George R.R. Martin said, "Hey, I based my books off of these." And like the fourth book came out in September in English. Like, the book's been written for 50 years, and I can go buy it right now. If I spoke French, I'd be fine. So he
basically just plagiarized.
It's not plagiarized. They're actually completely different.
Okay.
Because one, the Iron King series is actual historical fiction. Of the 14th century French kings.
Okay.
Based on history. Now, these people are evil.
I'm a student of history. Right. I know.
But they're also very dumb people, like idiots.
Well, I'd say ignorant to be more apt, but
just say, you're an idiot,
uninformed and easily swayed.
You have no idea.
I have some idea. Again, history minor in college, dude. Seriously, especially ancient religion.
Yeah. So anyway, but like comic book girl 19, like. That's a long title. That's a long name.
Comic Book Girl 19.
Comic Book Girl.
How about Comma Girl 19? Comma Girl 19.
I don't want to.
Comma. That would be weird.
Whatever.
We're not trying to give you a title, dear.
No. Anyway, according to that chick who I just pissed her off.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Dude,
I'm sorry.
She's gonna eat your liver. That's not even cool. That chick. It's bad. It's one thing to call random lesbians chicks, but this girl you've actually seen.
And I like her. She's pretty cool. But, I mean, she said it best when she said, hey, if the TV writers want to go one direction and the book wants to go another direction. I think that's a valid point. I mean, because you have way too many artistic minds, way too many ideas, and as long as you're true to, as long as, if I was the book writer and I was going this direction and I didn't change my mind based off of what's happening in TV or movies, screw it. This is the storyline my fans expect me to follow. Same as with the movies. As a guy who's never read any of the books, well, I did have it had like all the camera stills of the Star Wars A New Hope. It was kind of weird. It was like a comic book version back in.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The picture book version.
Yeah, and
we all had those.
Yeah, I had that back when I was like 7. But I don't think that's going to be a big difference or big mind changer. But as a movie guy,
that's where I first saw Biggs Darklighter. So anybody who knows Star Wars knows what that means. But go on.
Okay. But as long as the movie storyline stays, parallel, or not parallel, but even in the
same tone, maybe.
Yeah, the
not,
book
not
series,
necessarily the same events.
Yeah, the book series, fine. If Chewbacca dies by being crushed by a planet, you're gonna have to explain that one to me.
It's a long story.
Crushed by a planet?
Crushed by a moon, actually. It was by a moon.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a great scene. It was written. I'm trying to remember who wrote it. I can't remember. Michael Stockpole, I think. It's Chewbacca, but you picture Chewbacca, his silhouette in front of a crashing moon with his fists in the air and screaming. And it's just an amazing scene. It's so visual, even though it's literary. Right. But I'll explain. That takes a lot of explaining. Anybody who's listening to this who's a fan of the Star Wars novelizations from like 1992 through 2000 and... not even... 2001 maybe. Even later, but I'll get into that later. But years ago, Gene Roddenberry made a comment because one of the most prolific book adaptations of a visual medium are the Star Trek novels. Star Trek is holy crap, since like the 70s, 60s even, they've been republishing the scripts into novelization and these side stories. And because the series only went for 3 years and it was a 5-year mission, people filled the gap in with fiction and fan fiction and books and novels. There are so many, way more than Star Wars even. It's ridiculous.
Star Trek only lasted 3 years on TV?
Yeah, 1966 to 1969.
Wow.
Yeah, it survived through the 70s in syndication.
So you're telling me that the Brady Bunch
Outlasted Star Trek, among other things, I might add.
I was
in fact, CBS turned down Star Trek initially for Lost in Space.
Really?
Yeah.
Because one was black and white. Lost in Space started in black and white.
You're absolutely right.
And then came to color.
And Star Trek purposely started in color.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? Exactly. But Lost in Space did start in black and white. And CBS thought Star Trek was too cerebral and would not sell. Now, they were right at the time.
Right.
Star Trek didn't become popular until the 70s in syndication, and all the college crowds watched it. But anyway, I digress. Gene Roddenberry said years ago, anything in the books is ancillary. It's on the side. It's extra. It's a step above fan fiction. It's just something that's not part of the deal. If it's on film, it's canon. Meaning that's it. That's the history. If I put it on film, whether it be TV or movies, it's canon. So if the books go off in a different direction, that's their thing. Right. And I've always accepted that because I grew up with that. I grew up with both watching Star Trek on TV and reading the books. Now, at one point during the Star Wars run from 91, 92 forward, there was a period of time, I think it was the Black Fleet Crisis, if I remember correctly, and I really don't remember who wrote that. I apologize. But the Black Fleet Crisis started talking about Luke's mom. Now, at this point, we all know Vader was his dad.
Right.
But it starts talking about Luke's mom. And then right about that same time, Lucas was working on Phantom Menace. And he nipped it in the bud. That series, if I remember correctly, the Black Fleet Crisis, or whatever series I'm thinking of, ended abruptly. Because Lucas said, stop. I'm about to write about his mom. You guys can't go any further. And then it stopped for a while. And then Phantom Menace came out, and then the new movies came out, and the books took a slightly different direction.
So basically, he had no inclination to do this, and I'm going to get sued for millions of dollars, which I don't have, so.
We're not making any money on this anyway.
He
so
saw the series and like, hey, yeah, what about his mom? You know, fuck you, I'm taking his mom.
It kind of looks that way because the timing was pretty close.
Yeah.
The one character, and I know this will mean something to the hardcore Star Wars fans, if anybody's listening. The greatest character to come out of the fiction or the novelization side is a character by the name of Mara Jade. She's actually shown up in Expanded Universe, in the games, in some of the action figures. It was an assassin. She was the Emperor's hand. When the Emperor died, she was off on a mission somewhere and then suddenly was cut. She was a Jedi, kind of. She was like a dark Jedi. And she shows up in the Timothy Zahn books. This brings me back to what I was talking about, Timothy Zahn. And her goal was to kill Luke because her last mission was to kill Luke. She was in Jabba's palace when Luke showed up, but by some weird circumstance, she missed him. So they kind of wrote her into the whole genre. Now, she became Luke's wife, the mother of his kid, and then that's part of that whole history, like Chewbacca dying. And basically, Han and Leia had 3 kids. They had a set of twins who were massive Jedis, and then their son, Anakin, who was an even more powerful Jedi. And then both the sons died, and then their daughter's still alive, at least in the last books I read. But this is what I'm getting at. This whole thing is what I'm getting at. Remember what I said a couple episodes ago where Star Trek continued by killing my universe, where they did it in a way that I could accept after a while, but it hurt. Remember when we walked out of the theater and I was actually pissed because basically in my head they took my entire life, my entire childhood. Because if I were to choose a dad, it's Captain Kirk.
Right.
They took everything that happened in my childhood and killed it.
Yeah.
And the only thing left
and
is
I remember
ancient Spock.
I remember you saying that, and I remember you explaining why it was good at the same time.
I accepted it. I understood it. Let's put it that way.
You understood it. Yeah, I didn't say good.
I understood from a literary point of view, we have to go a different direction, which is why I was so pissed at the second movie. It's exactly why I was pissed at the second movie. Because they went and destroyed my universe. They destroyed my world.
Right.
And then retread the same fucking shit in the second movie. That's what made me so mad.
No.
You could go a completely different direction. You could take these guys on a ridiculous adventure. Even Transformers did it better than Star Trek 2. Star Trek 2 is the worst Star Trek film I've ever seen. And probably the worst mainstream science fiction film I've ever seen. I hate it so much, it drives me crazy.
I don't... Okay, so you're obviously a Trekkie.
Yes, I am a
Where-
classic Trekkie.
where
Those
I'm
people that get pissed about, I'm a Trekker. Fuck you, I'm a Trekkie.
I think I have to disagree with you on this one.
About the second movie or
Normally,
about everything else?
The second movie, because even if okay, so in the TV series, like he met Khan and whatever, blah,
He
blah,
did
blah.
in Space Siege, yeah,
Right.
which I had you watch a few months
Right.
ago.
I think they still had to do that from a historical standpoint, because it's not like if I go back in time, like Mount St. Helens erupted
Yeah.
1980. If I
Yeah.
go back in time and I come back and
Mount St. Helens is still going to erupt.
Mount St. Helens is still going to erupt.
Okay.
There are going to be little differences. Maybe I can save Harry Truman. Maybe I'm not. Maybe Harry Truman's going to leave his property. Maybe he's not. And I'm not talking the president, Harry Truman.
You're talking
He
about
was-
the guy who died in the
I'm
avalanche,
just talking
yeah.
about, for those international people, Harry Truman, not the president, just another dude.
The dude that was
on the mountain.
Yeah, on the mountain, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Right. I know.
locals,
I know you
so-
know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I just want to explain that for the general
Makes
audience.
sense.
It's not the president.
Not the
or
president, Harry Truman,
the
yeah.
ex-president or former president Harry Truman, just a guy who lived at the bottom of the mountain. Maybe he leaves the mountain, maybe he doesn't. But that doesn't mean that Mount St. Helens isn't going to erupt. So with the second movie, it doesn't mean that Captain Kirk in that second movie is not going to meet Khan. It's just the circumstances may be different. The decisions and what happens when he meets them are going to be different. However, God, I wish I remembered. I know we just watched like a couple months ago.
Yeah, but you're
Just
not
to
as
make sure.
versed in the history as I am,
Right.
so...
But all of that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's just the decision based of him coming back. Like he came back on a rotational prison, whatever. It doesn't mean that's not going to enter the galaxy or enter the atmosphere of where he was going. It's just the weather patterns are going to be the same. Nature's going to be the same. Just whatever decision.
Mount St. Helens is still going to explode.
Yeah. Whatever decisions that those people make are going to be different because they have different influences.
You know what? That is going to be another catchphrase for us, like "Pow Pow Summer Glow." Mount St. Helens is still going to explode.
Mount St. Helens is still going to explode.
That's a good time travel reference, actually. It's an excellent time travel reference. I will respond by saying that I had similar feelings. The first thing, a lot of things ran through my head when I saw that first movie. I mean, my brain went into overload. More so than even Star Wars. Star Trek has such a thick history, both literary and visual. And my brain just went crazy. First thing I thought, V'ger's still coming from the first movie. No matter how much you change the universe directly involved with Kirk and Spock, V'ger is still out there eating up worlds. The Doomsday Machine from the series is still out there eating up worlds. The Probe from Star Trek IV is still out there hunting for whales. Those things are all still out there. Like you said, Mount St. Helens will still explode. And I accepted that and understood it, but my brain said, okay, if I were a filmmaker or a writer, I would acknowledge those things to the fans, meaning I would make reference to them either literarily or visually, but tell new fucking stories. But I will defend what you're saying a little bit. It makes a little bit of sense that they found Khan, because basically what happened is because of the time shift, Starfleet became aware of Khan before they should have. So they were like, hey, wait a minute, in this other timeline, Kirk finds him like 5 years from now. Let's go find him now and exploit him. I get that. But that's not what they should have made the second movie out of. Right. They should have gone a completely new direction. They should have picked a new villain, a new alien, a new history, a new story, something. And then maybe in one of the novelizations, somebody could have gone back and said, oh, by the way, we know about this guy Khan. I would have accepted that as a fan. But for them to literally take the second film...
Maybe they did. Because if you think, in the first film, who came back?
What do you mean in the first film, who came back?
In the first film, who came back?
The first Star Trek film with the new cast.
Yeah, yes.
Well, besides Leonard, what do you mean?
Exactly.
Leonard Nimoy.
Spock.
Yeah.
Who knew about Khan?
Well, Leonard did, obviously.
So maybe he advised him, hey, dude, there's this Khan dude out there.
He probably did. Knowing Spock, he probably did.
There's no historical reference for that. And, I mean, for me to assume that right now at this moment, 3 years later after the movie or 4 years, whatever, how long it's been.
Right.
But what you're saying is that it could have happened. Again, we go back to...
Of course it could have happened. I just wish they'd gone a different way with the movie. I want to see a new story. I don't want to see old shit retreaded. Plus, Ricardo Montalban, nobody can beat him as Khan.
No.
I'm sorry. And as much as I like Cumberpatch, ain't fucking happening. Okay,
that's his name is Cumberpatch.
I have no idea what his fucking name is. Okay, I'll be honest. I don't watch Sherlock. I'm not a fan.
Oh.
I've tried to watch it.
Right.
It's a futuristic Sherlock. For me, Sherlock needs to be back in the 1800s where he belongs.
Okay.
So I don't watch the new TV show, either the British one or the American one, which is weird because I'm a huge Sir Arthur Conan Doyle fan. He was decent in it, but that's not Khan to me.
No,
Montalban is Khan.
Montalban is calm, but you got to look at the age difference between Montalban, who, and I'm going to put this in human.
That's why I had you watch Space Seed.
I don't know, but Montalban portrayed like a 60-year-old guy, where this dude was
20-something, 30-something, yeah.
30-something. There's a lot of things that go in between those.
Especially when you're in your 60s and marooned on some weird planet that turns into a desert and kills your wife.
So,
yeah.
I'm not saying I like the portrayal of Khan from
It's just
him.
heartbreaking for me.
I do like because you had me watch the
Spacey.
Spacey.
Which is Khan younger. That's Ricardo Montalban at the age Cumberbatch would be, roughly.
I think if you're trying to get new fans and trying to create a new fan base, you have to do the second movie like that, because everything is based off. If you're basing that off Space Seed, that's kind of.
I think they succeeded with the first film, though. They won me over in the first film.
I don't think they
did.
lost
me in the second.
I don't think they.
And
did.
I'm a fan. I'm a true fan.
But they're not gonna make like 10 of these movies with the same story. Chris Pine is not going to star in the next 10.
That's
Star
true.
Trek.
That's true.
And my basis is Spider-Man. Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I love those three.
I do too, especially the second one. That's my favorite one.
They're great. But it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Once he exposed himself to Mary Jane and everybody else in the world, you can't go back to that storyline because, well, everybody's going to die because he exposed himself to them. And
Well, it worked for Iron Man, though.
Iron Man's different. He just
I do like. There was something
he didn't hide himself to begin with.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck you. I'm Iron Man.
Yeah, he's like, I'm Iron Man, and everybody knows.
Yeah,
he hit himself. Which goes to the debate: do you hide yourself or do you not?
Depends on how rich you are. Apparently, of course, with Batman, it's still.
And if you look at like this, I think it's in the second one where Doctor Octopus.
I love the second Spider-Man film with
I
Maguire. Yeah,
but he grabs Aunt May, and Aunt May's like, "Why does this shit keep happening to me?"
Yeah.
Well, because you're Spider-Man's aunt.
Yeah, good point.
It'd be nice to know that this shit may be happening to me because you're a jerk. Who has this fucking complex to save everybody. Whatever.
Well, that goes back to the ancient concept of the hero's journey being a lonely one.
But still, once he revealed himself to Mary Jane, you can't do a fourth movie, and that's why they went and like restarted he had already revealed himself to Mary Jane. He revealed, he was accidentally revealed Goblin Jr. I don't know what he was.
Osborn.
Yeah, Osborn. But see,
Hobgoblin.
yeah, the Hobgoblin, which, hey, check it out, he died.
Well,
in
that's
the
all
third
the
movie.
comics, though. That's all.
I know,
kind of.
I'm just saying, revealed death. Don't do it.
Don't do it. If you're gonna be a vigilante, don't tell anybody.
But I think you're not going to have Chris Pine. Again, in about 10 years, that could happen again. We could have Star Trek 1 all over again with a brand new Captain Kirk, a brand new young Captain Kirk, or a brand new older version of Captain Kirk. That could happen because you're not going to see Chris Pine starring in the next 10 Star Trek films.
He's not Shatner. No. That's Shatner's
and
thing.
That's just his. With Indiana Jones, it may have taken us 20 some odd years to go from Crusades to
as weird as that movie was, I still was happy to see him. I was like, I know, I missed you, Indy,
and we were,
yeah.
And even if you go to River Phoenix, was the young Indiana Jones in the TV series.
That would have been.
Yeah,
I could have accepted him being Indy as an adult later on.
I could have too. He was totally.
What a fucking. Bummer.
I think doing the TV series was a mistake. I think you should have done 3 or 4 movies.
River didn't do the TV series.
Was it River?
No, that was a couple other kids.
That was a couple other kids.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That TV series is pretty cute, though. I did watch it recently. It's still pretty good.
It was all right.
Especially the first one. It was like a movie. It was ridiculous.
But it's one of those. It's like you can have you can do separate storylines and you can kind of remain true. Like
comic books have been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Remain true to the character.
Yeah, remain true to the character.
Yeah.
But you're going to regurgitate the same stories. Spider-Man did it. You have the Tobey Maguire series in less than 10 years. You have a brand new old freaking
Which
trilogy.
I had no desire to see.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah.
And And it just pisses me off. You couldn't wait 15 years? I don't
yeah. Well, that's what we talked about. We talked about this before, where it's because of the rights.
Yeah.
If they hadn't made that movie, they would have lost the rights. They'd have gone back to Marvel and then Disney. And once Disney gets their clutches on something, they don't fucking let go. They squeeze every turnip out of that sucker. God bless them. Because I'm actually looking, I mentioned earlier, I'd heard on Twitter they're making a Toy Story 4. And I'm actually really excited. Toy Story is one of those franchises that just makes me feel good all over.
Really?
Even the second one, which is a little... It was originally intended for straight to video, but it was good enough to be released. My wife's not a big fan of it, and it is a little darker than the other ones.
Yeah.
But Zurg, oh my god, Zurg is so awesome in the second one. Have you seen that?
I've seen the second one. I just don't remember the second one.
Oh my god, when basically Buzz goes back to thinking he's Buzz Lightyear, and Zurg shows up thinking he's Zurg, and it's just freaking hilarious. Woody's like, you fucking idiots. It's great. I love the second one. Oddly enough, I don't have it though. I need to buy that.
Yeah.
But you said you haven't seen the third one. Now you can see the third one without ever having seen the second. The two have nothing to do with each other.
All right.
The third
Maybe
one
I've
is
seen
actually
the
a
third
perfect
one.
sequel to the first one.
Maybe I've seen the third one and not the second one.
With the big teddy bear. The big loves the... I forget his name now. He's like... He's a reference to both Care Bears
And
Strawberry Shortcake, the scented stuff.
I was thinking...
and
Rough Skip.
Potbelly Pets, which is something that not everybody remembers back in the day.
Maybe I haven't seen the second or third one.
Why we have the third one? I have it on 3D actually. It looks really good. The third one's just an excellent film by itself. The only thing you need to know from the second one is the girl cowboy. What's her name? I forget her name now. Off the top of my head. She's in it because she shows up in the second one.
Jessie,
yeah. She's from the second one. She was one of the toy collectors' captives, I guess. And then she, of course, stays with them, and her and Buzz are kind of together. The only thing that bums me out is that Annie Potts never came back as Bo Peep. That kind of bums me out. But because she was really cute in the first one.
She was in the second one.
Was she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because Woody even
maybe
makes
not,
a comment
maybe
about
not a
it.
lot, but
Woody even makes a comment about her going away. I do remember that in the third one. But yeah, you would really like it, and it looks fantastic. It's just some of the best animation I've ever seen.